Hello, this is Chant of the Forgotten, a mod for Hearthstone 4 that gives new focuses and ideas to a few countries. It also adds in new sub-ideologies. In the country selection screen, we're going to play as the Chinese warlord state known as San-Ma. You can also call them the Ma Clique. The clique was a collective name of Hui or Muslim Chinese warlords who controlled the Chinese provinces of Qinghai, Gansu, and Ningxia. If you're wondering what Ma itself means, it is apparently a common Hui rendering of the name Muhammad. The country starts off with the national spirits, dispersed society, Tibetan rebels, and identity crisis. The leader of San-Ma is Ma Bufang, who has the traits anti-communist and harsh repressor, and on another note, the ruling party ideology is currently non-aligned. Bufang historically was primarily the warlord of Qinghai and was governor of it from 1938 to 1949. When he was younger, he received an education in Islam, and for some time he studied to become an Imam, which is essentially a priest of the Muslim faith. He decided to stop this, however, and instead pursued a military career. During his time in the military, he fought Tibetans, communists, the Japanese, and Uyghurs. As warlord of Qinghai, he is notable for starting quite a few projects in the field of agriculture, medicine, sanitation, and education that were either ran by or assisted by the state. Our army consists of 7 divisions, 3 being cavalry and 4 are infantry. As for commanders, let's just say there is a lot of Ma's, unsurprisingly, but with that said, Bufang is going to be our only starting field marshal. Let's take a look at our military technology, and in that department we have the most bare minimal of tech, that being weapons. But with that said, I imagine a lot of our neighbors are in the same boat, so it isn't all that bad. Let's get to business. In the focus tree, we're going to begin by completing choose an identity and Hui, and then go down to the right after that one and do a pan-Islamic state. We only have 1 military factory, which I guess it's better than nothing. Fortunately though, our infantry template isn't all that big, so hopefully it won't take very long to get a division, all of its equipment. Hui is completed and some coup in Japan failed, but more relevant to us is the country's name being changed to the Hui Clique, and other than that, we have a different flag now. Black shirts organize in the United Kingdom. This means that the fascists in that country are on the rise. The USSR is purging people, and we just finished the pan-Islamic state focus. The country name has become the Islamic State, and we also got a new flag, which is a lot greener than the ones that came before it. The ruling party ideology of what was San-Ma is now fascist, though with that said, it has the sub-ideology type of theocracy, which is a form of government where a deity or a religious doctrine is recognized as the supreme ruling authority. The country itself would essentially be controlled by representatives of whatever particular faith controls it. Honestly, I'm uncertain if the government would be inherently fascist, but with all that said, this is Hui 4, and there always is gameplay constraints that need to be taken into account on subjects like this. In the focus tree, let's finish the Xinjiang campaign, the Great Holy War. Then go to the left and acquire camels, and go down and liberate the Southern Islamics. That last one I mentioned will give us quite a few war goals. The Xinjiang campaign is to be over soon, and this means we will attack our communist neighbor. I think the numbers on each side army-wise are about equal, so this shouldn't be too difficult. The fight has started. Our plan is to have some of our divisions fight theirs, and that will keep them occupied for the time being. While that is going on, a separate force of our units will move into their non-defended provinces with the goal of capturing anything that matters. Soon we will take the enemy capital, and after that we're going to send some soldiers up to the northern part of their country and secure that area. Zongaria will be ours soon, or at least part of it, as all we need to really do is take most of it for it to be counted as occupied by the Islamic State. A cavalry division is going to be sent in to take the last state controlled by Xinjiang. Once we have that, they should be forced to capitulate. By completing focuses, we have got ourselves some really good national spirits, such as All Shall Help and War of Islamic Reunification. That second one is extremely nice to have, especially because we're going to be fighting a lot more in the future. The Islamic State grows in size as a result of our victory. This new territory we acquired will be used as a gateway to the west. Thanks to the fall of Xinjiang, we are able to take their equipment, and we will put it to good use by creating new divisions for our army. News from around the world, mainly Europe to be honest. Polish and Romania make an alliance, and the German Reich has decided this is the right time for it to start hitting itself by having a civil war. We are going to expand, and to do that, we are going to invade the so-called Graveyard of Empires, aka Afghanistan. In the focus tree, let's deal with the Goluks non-intervention pact with India. fight the remaining militias, and after all that, we'll subjugate the Tibetans. We only have so many provinces to fight Afghanistan in, so what we did was make a fallback line and let the Afghan army move forward to it. Now that they are there, we will throw everything we have at them to either push them back or cut them off from their supplies. Wow, that's crazy. A Turkish-Soviet war has begun. Turkey will not be alone in fighting the USSR. In fact, their independence is guaranteed by the Kingdom of Romania, which means for better or for worse, the Romanians will have to fight alongside the Turks. The majority of Afghan forces have been isolated and trapped, and we'll take advantage of that by advancing toward the city of Kabul. The UK has become fascist, and maybe that could explain why India has become independent. They also decided to leave the Allies faction. That explains everything. Both South Africa and India decided to go their own way due to decided inability for them to reconcile their political views with the new powers that be in Britain. Big news comes from the East. Japan has declared war on China. The Japanese also decided to go for Shanxi, and besides that, the Marco Polo Bridge incident has occurred, and evidently that has transformed into something a lot bigger that will cause a far greater amount of violence. Bulgaria approaches the British Empire. Meanwhile, we're getting ready to attack India, who has no allies that they can call in that can aid in their defense. An ultimatum was sent to Tibet, and they chose to accept it. This means we get a new puppet in the form of the Tibetan Empire. With the Tibetans on our side, that should give us a numbers advantage for a little while. We might as well declare war on India now. We requested forces from our puppet, and once that is taken into account, we will have a grand total of 36 divisions in our army. More focuses to complete. Let's do liberate the Middle East, liberate the Africans, liberate the Europeans, and liberate the last ones. After those are done, we will go to another part of the focus tree and complete consolidate Afghanistan, which will move our capital to a place right beside the Soviet border. Although, with all things considered, we may want to wait and do that one later. The clash with India is sort of going well. We intentionally gave up Afghanistan as a way to keep enemy forces busy while we advance down from the Tibetan Plateau in areas that the Islamic State controls. This is probably the best time for us to start doing military focuses. With that said, let's do from all sides, paramilitary training, and integrate the Islamic militias. We have seized Delhi, our opponent's capital. Now we gotta capture Bombay, and after that, I assume we will have to take some city in the southern part of the Indian subcontinent. If we are able to defeat India, besides getting India proper, we will also get land that is traditionally considered part of Burma. I reckon our foe managed to get that for whatever reason when they became independent from the UK. Bombay is ours. Onward we go to Madras. The German Civil War comes to an end, and the Nazi side has lost. It may not seem like it, but this is what peak strategy looks like. We have won our toughest war so far. Free India and the state of Burma have been made into puppet states. As for what the Islamic State itself gained, well, we got land in places that will be seen as parts of Pakistan and Bangladesh in our timeline as of recording. In Europe, Austria refuses reunification. No Anschluss will happen, it looks like, because the country formerly known as Austria has joined the Allies. Let's turn our attention to Iran and start justifying a war goal on them because they have multiple states we have cores on. After we are through with them, we will invade Iraq. There isn't really a fancy plan to fight the Iranians. We have more than 3 million manpower, so constant assaults will work just fine. In the focus tree, let's do Islamic High Command and a religious army. After that, we will finally get around to completing Consolidate Afghanistan, and after that, we will do a bunch of economic/industrial-oriented focuses. In the distant west, new alliances are being made. The German Empire Congress was created, and its first members shall be the German Empire and Yugoslavia. They aren't alone, though, as the Anglo-Italian alliance has been formed. This means Italy will join the Allies. France joins the German Empire Congress, and because of this, the Germans, the French, and the Yugoslavians will fight the opposing British, Austrians, and Italians. Siam, also known as Thailand, joins the Japanese faction, and in Europe, Poland is seeking Baltic cooperation. Once we're finished with Iraq, our next targets will be the sovereign states of the Arabian Peninsula. This includes Saudi Arabia, Oman, and Yemen. New developments in the German-British War. Ireland has joined the Congress, while Bulgaria, who neighbors Yugoslavia, joins the Allies. Since we have the army experience and most certainly the manpower, our main infantry template will be set to have 40 combat with no artillery or support equipment because it will save us time in producing material and researching new tech. China declares war on Japan, and the Quit India movement is underway. Hopefully the latter doesn't affect our control over free India. Qing China has decided to join the Allies. This means there's a whole new group of enemies for Japan to face. With this happening, it wouldn't surprise me if the other China joins the German Empire Congress. This is sort of shocking, at least to me, but Shanxi has decided to join the Polish Międzymorze faction. The Japanese occupied the capital of the Republic of China, which is the city of Nanjing. Is this a sign of things to come? Japan, who can't get enough of war, it seems, attacks the Dutch East Indies and thus the Netherlands. Poland declares war on Latvia and called in all their friends. This makes it so the Latvians are nearly surrounded on all sides. So all I can say to them is good luck. What in the world is going on in Western Europe? France is being invaded by the British, and now they have to fight a civil war against the French Commune who joined the Japanese faction. Shanxi and Japan sign a white peace. The Japanese are still fighting the two Chinas though, so they aren't out of the woods yet. India is having a bit of a crisis. It's sort of split in half, with one side joining the Allies, while our puppet, which is now known as the Islamic Raj, is fighting the side that broke away from it. Finland joins the German Empire Congress. You may be wondering how the USSR responded to this. Well, they are focusing on the Baltics instead. We're going to knock out two birds with one stone. We're going to send an army to stop the Islamic Raj from being destroyed, and the rest of our forces will go to our border with the British Empire and start attacking there. This will be done because both of our potential enemies are in the same faction. Since we have become an enemy of the Allies, we joined the German Empire Congress. One plan that I have in mind now that the German Empire and Company and the Islamic State are working together is a possible naval invasion of Britain. The Raj is saved, and if we look over to the Middle East, we can see that the Islamic State is slowly advancing into British-held territory. A couple of our armies have been sent to Ireland to start preparing for an invasion of what was the UK. The German Empire finds itself in a conflict with the USSR, who has been smashing into Poland lately. The country that is perhaps most threatened, though, in the Congress is Yugoslavia, who borders a Soviet-friendly communist Romania. Islamic forces have successfully made landfall in Scotland and North England. The next thing we must do is fight our way inland. In what is now the African front, our armies are fighting through British Egypt. After we finish them off, we're going to go for British Sudan. The Allies are gone. The German Empire Congress has triumphed. Thanks to the peace conference, we have gained a great amount of control over the Middle East. But we're not done yet, because soon we will march into the USSR and seize Central Asia. Communist China declares war on China, and they will be fighting all alone because they chose to form a faction and couldn't get anyone else to join it. The incursion into the USSR has started. There's going to be two fronts. One is the Turkey-Caucasian front, and the other will be one in a place you could call the Land of the Stands. After our soldiers liberate Alma-Ata, also known as Almaty, they find many people in a gulag. One of the individuals within it claimed to be a former general of the Ma army. He could be a madman, but let's have a meeting with him anyway. The person turns out to be Ma Clique, a general who is said to have disappeared in 1934 during the Soviet invasion of Xinjiang. Since we have found him, he will become a commander once again. We have broken up the armies and put them into separate groups depending on what front they are on. Bufang will lead one of these groups and Xiangying will lead the other. An imperialist civil war has started in Australia, which is interesting because the imperialists are a puppet of the British Empire, but the British Empire itself is a puppet of the Islamic State. That's us. That's more or less stuck in Hong Kong. Great, now there are more imperialists, but this time they're in New Zealand. The Zara-based Kingdom of Italy has had something big take place. That big thing is that Mussolini got assassinated. Turkey capitulates. This means more manpower for us, as we have Khorasan caused Muslims. And to the north, it appears that Poland, and I assume the German Empire, may soon reach Moscow. We're making our way to Stalingrad, and in the Far East, our allies are pushing into Soviet territory. Our side won the peace conference is here, and we have a lot of war score. One thing I can ensure is that the borders will look very different after this is all over. Thanks to some skilled negotiating, a giant Poland was created, and so was a Islamic State stretching from Africa to Siberia. You can't deny that the country we have created is massive, and we have come a long way from Saibei Sanma. This gigantic nation, I imagine, would essentially act as a Muslim global superpower. The video is going to stop here. If you enjoyed the mod, make sure to check it out in the description below. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe. Support the channel on Patreon or by becoming a channel member. If you won't, don't forget to leave a comment. Have an awesome day. I'll see y'all later. Bye.